Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and it is time for me to bring you guys another draft analysis video for the UBC United Battle Championship, not to be confused with the UPC, which we put up a draft analysis for a few weeks ago. That draft finished a little bit more quickly. This one we started right around Christmas, and the first battle for this is going to be going up, I think, on January 14th, which is the same week as UPC. Week 1, so those two leagues are going to have side-by-side uploads for most of the season. And yeah, this is a league that I've had good experience with. I was the champion of Season 2 and the runner-up of Season 3. So let's hope that that sort of trend can continue. Love to be able to get back at least to the playoffs and hopefully into the championship. But I know that this league, this season, has some of the stiffest competition that it's had up to this point. There's a bunch of new guys and also some folks that I know personally, like Jonah, who was in PMC Season 2 with me, who had a very great record and made it into the playoffs, and lots of other folks as well. I don't want to try to sound like I'm snubbing anybody, but Jonah's just an example of someone off the top of my head. But anyway, if you're not familiar with UBC, it's pretty typical GBA rules. Tiers 1 through 5, pick a mega. You have free selections that you can make, quote unquote free, that you buy with your allotment of points. And it's a 16 team league, no divisions, gonna be 12 weeks of games. And with that, I was assigned the number 10 pick, which is really funny because that's what I was assigned for UPC as well. The difference there was 10 out of 12. This is 10 out of 16, so a little bit closer to the middle, a little bit less of a wheel pick. And I have a whole bunch of drafts sort of planned out, a whole bunch of mock drafts that I've been kind of playing around with, and was going to try and use one of those as a template, but most of the Pokemon that those teams were built around got taken off the board by this pick. So like, for example, I really wanted Weavile, but Jonah took Weavile. Necrozma was another Pokemon that I had my eye on, and that went with the number 2 pick to Chip, I want to say. Pretty sure it was Chip. And so I had to figure out what else I wanted, and I was thinking a lot about that Necrozma pick, a bulky psychic, good stats across the board, and it kind of occurred to me, why not choose Mew? Mew is already one of the best Pokemon that you can use in terms of its versatility. And I've kind of hated on Mew in the past, but one thing that I think really helps Mew in this generation is the introduction of Z moves. Because it gets so much amazing coverage. Now you can turn all of that coverage into extremely powerful Z moves. So our first Pokemon is going to be Mystique, which is a return member from our very first draft league team from the Orange League when we took over the Nevada Noivern. So Mew is gonna do basically what I wanted Necrozma to do, be a bulky psychic type, but with much better offensive coverage, maybe slightly less bulk, a slightly less viable ability, but still gets reliable recovery like Necrozma, gets Stealth Rock, gets Rock Polish, also gets Swords Dance and Nasty Plot, gets Baton Pass, gets U-Turn, gets Volt Switch, gets every single great coverage move that you can think of, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Flamethrower, Aura Sphere, gets Priority, Sucker Punch, Vacuum Wave, things like that. So I'm really trying to make the most of this, and it even gets its own, in terms of the Z moves, it gets its own special Z move. It does, I think it's base 200 or something like that. So this is going to be really awesome, and I think bulky psychic types are one of the most important typings to have in League format, just because they serve as great checks to things like Lopunny, things like Medicham, etc., etc. So my core with the Necrozma on my team was with Conkeldurr and Heatran and Mega Audino. I also had some offensive Pokemon in there, such as Greninja, which is what I ended up taking with my next pick, going with Pashmina for that awesome scarf that it's rocking. It's nautical themed Pashmina Afghan, which is a good reference if you guys are fans of Lonely Island. This is another Pokemon that's going to be able to abuse the crap out of Z moves because this thing gets really great coverage. In Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, it got even better coverage. It already had Dark Pulse, Ice Beam, Grass Knot, etc. But then it got Gunk Shot and Low Kick in ORAS, and it's got great mixed attacking stats, great speed. It's too bad that we can't run Protean, but what are you gonna do? Protean would be so awesome. So that'd be another thing. But I took Greninja in the second round because it got sniped from me in the UPC, and I didn't want it to get sniped from me this time. So I made it was probably a little bit of a reach, but I don't feel that bad about it because reaching in these drafts is not awful. If you have a team that you want to build, you just take the Mons before you think they're gonna go. And I didn't think Greninja was gonna last much longer. Much to my surprise, though, my next pick was going to be Heatran, but that went before the end of the second round. It went to the Bristol Bulu, who I can't remember off the top of my head who's the coach of that. I can look that up. It's probably, I think it's, I don't know. I'm not going to make it up. I'll look it up another time. But anyway, it was off the board, and that kind of screwed my whole plan up, because that was a really important Pokemon for me. It was going to be my Flying Resist, and obviously great Pokemon with Stealth Rocks, Flame Charge, Bloom Doom would have been really great on that. So I kind of had to go back to the drawing board because it was going to provide a lot of my bulk, and I didn't have great bulk up to this point. I had the bulky Psychic with Mew, but I wanted a bulky Fire type to be able to take on Darmanitan and things like that. So I went back to the drawing board and decided that I needed to bring a returning member to the team, being Heath Ledger, the Entei. Heath Ledger is he's named Heath Ledger because he wants to watch the world burn, just like my boy the Joker. And Entei it's awesome because it's so hard to switch into offensively, or defensively rather, because most of its checks and counters don't appreciate being burned, which is cool. But it's also surprisingly versatile defensively. It doesn't get anything like Arcanine does with Morning Sun or things like that, but Rest Hawk sets are very good. And pure Fire typing is very nice in League format to try and take on Pokemon like Victini, to take on, for example, Darmanitan, and stuff like that. Grass types like Tapu Bulu are going to be pretty well checked by Entei. But yeah, it gives me a good defensive typing, even though it is weak to rocks. But the offensive potential that this thing provides is pretty nice. Even though it's only base 115 attack, it gets really awesome and powerful fire moves that can be used to wall break. So Entei was going to be the best replacement for me. And so I wanted a special wall breaker, and I wanted Nidoqueen to go after this pick, but Nidoqueen got sniped from me. Another Pokemon that Jonah took, which really stinks because he took the Weavile that I kind of wanted. So I said, okay, well, let me put that on the back burner. I think Nidoking might be on the board in another round. So also in round 3, we had a run on bulky grass types. Tangrowth went off the board, and some other stuff went off the board that I can't remember. So I said, okay, I'll get Nidoking in round 5, but round 4 I want to get Decidueye. Because this thing is really great, and it is named Legolas. That's what I named my in-game Decidueye, and I'm happy to be bringing him to the team. Very good mixed attacking stats, not super great mixed defenses, but good Spadef anyway, which could make a decent electric check in most weeks. And this thing has awesome offensive coverage. Ghost Ingrass is really cool, but it also gets Brave Bird, it gets U-Turn, it gets Swords Dance and Nasty Plot, it gets Sucker Punch and Baton Pass, and it gets Defog, which is something I'd like to have. I also have Defog on Mew, but it's always good to have more than one form of hazard removal. So, very nice team, very nice Pokemon. It's starting to look like a nice team, but obviously we still have some work left to do. It gets Roost for reliable recovery. So yeah, I wanted this, and we can try and use this as a good ground resist as well. I do wish, again, that we had slightly more physical bulk, but we can make that work. There's some gimmicks that I've thought of, that I had in mind, that we can use to make Decidueye bulkier. So as I mentioned, my next pick was going to be Nidoking, because again, I wanted Nidoqueen, but couldn't get that. And Nidoking is another returning member of mine. And this is going to pair really well with Entei, just like it did in UBC Season 2 for me, for breaking down cores. Because this thing is so powerful with its ability Sheer Force, which most folks certainly do know about. And this thing also has the coverage of a god. I almost thought about making this a Z-move Pokemon, but I figured, you know, it'd be better to run Life Orb on this most weeks, because you get the boost in power with no drawbacks on almost all its moves. But yeah, this thing also gets Stealth Rock and Toxic Spikes, which I'm pretty pleased about. Sucker Punch, Superpower. So even though it's not as bulky as Nidoqueen is, that, you know, it is a little bit faster and a little bit stronger, which kind of makes up for it. And its typing is just nifty enough that we can make it work. So up to this point, we're looking really weak to a couple of things, flying especially. And electric looks like well, the electric's not that bad. I have 2 resists now. But anyway, I also wanted another setup option. I wanted another Stealth Rock option. So Tyrantrum seemed like a natural choice. With 2 great abilities and Strong Jaw and Rock Head, we can run this Pokemon a lot of different ways. And I almost went with Z-move on this as well, because it gets Fire Fang, Thunder Fang, Ice Fang, and it'd just be nice to get some powerful Z-moves off of that. But we're already getting the nice boost from Strong Jaw, so I didn't think that was entirely worth it. But this does get Dragon Dance, and it does get Rock Polish, which give me some really nice setup options. And this thing is not worthless defensively. Like, sure, its Spadef is bad, but this is going to be a nice physical wall if I need it to be. And its typing, again, is pretty useful. It's a great fire resist. You know, I have Heath Ledger to be a fire resist, but this helps as well. Greninja does not count as a fire resist. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to take here, because I didn't know how much longer it was going to be on the board. There's some other Pokemon that I wanted, but I didn't think this one would stick around. And I'd just been, I had to sort of redo my plan for my draft so many times that I wasn't willing to risk losing out on Tyrantrum. So we are going with the Reptar nickname for that classic Rugrats reference. Okay, so let's go to the next set. So I knew that I wanted Mega Audino from the moment I drafted Mew. One, because it gives me some extra points to work with, but also because as a defensive core, Audino perfectly covers Mew's weaknesses. Sure, there are some things that they don't resist mutually. There's a lot of things that they don't resist between the two of them, like Bolt Beam, and they don't resist fire and ground and stuff like that. But anyway, it at least covers Mew well enough. A lot of the things that are going to threaten Mew are not going to threaten Mega Audino, so that's what I liked about that. And this thing, you know, it is what it is. It's a very bulky Pokemon. A good cleric with Wish, Healing Wish, gets Heal Bell, stuff like that. Gets Calm Mind if you want to set up with it. Gets Seismic Toss if you don't want to put any offensive investment into it. Or does it? I could have sworn it got Seismic Toss. Does it not? Nope, I made that up. Alright, it doesn't get Seismic Toss. It's only like Chansey and Blissey that get Seismic Toss as clerics. But in any case, yeah, that's what this Pokemon is here to do. And it's also a good Dark Resist, which I was lacking up to this point. Again, Greninja does not count as a Dark Resist. Unfortunately, you know, Fairies, you typically want them to be able to resist fighting, which is very useful, but I already have Mew and Nidoqueen to resist fighting. So, especially the Mew is really the key player there. So I didn't mind taking a Fairy type that doesn't resist fighting. So yeah. And this does enable me to invest in Thundurus for my next pick, aka Elon Musk. And this is my final Z move mon. I'm most excited to use like Z Fly with this to get that Supersonic Sky Strike. I guess yeah, it's not even on the list of viable moves, but this turns it into like 160 or 170 base power flying move, which finally gives it a stab option. But yeah, I wanted this. I don't really draft high tier electric types that often, so I was kind of excited for the opportunity to do that. Has a really awesome mixed attacking stats, really great speed. It's got Volt Switch, it has U-turn. Its abilities are both awesome. Prankster and Defiant are really nice. Also, I kind of liked the idea of using Thundurus, and then I have Greninja, which is a Pokemon that can't be T-waved by Thundurus. So like, because I have Greninja on my team, nobody can use that against me, if that sort of makes sense, because of the buff that they gave to Dark types where they can't be hit by Prankster moves in this gen for whatever odd reason. Defiant's also really underrated, and I do have some good hazard stacking options at this point. I do have the Mew, the Nidoking, I have Spikes on Greninja, and I've got Rocks on Tyrantrum. So lots of hazard setting options, and this will let me abuse that if I choose. And again, this thing just gets nice coverage. Obviously, as I mentioned, Volt Switch and U-turn, but also gets, Dark Pulse, Psychic, Flash Cannon, Focus Blast, Z-move, all-out pummeling. It's going to be really nice on this. You don't have to worry about the Focus Blast miss. And that's just really great. Knockoff as well. I've got a couple of knockoff users on the team now with this and Mew, and I don't think anything else up at this point has it. No, Audino definitely gets it. Yeah, it definitely gets it as well. So that's nice. So lots of knockoff users, which is always good to have. So what am I missing up to this point? This is my first ground immunity, and I'd like to have another. I'd like a flying resist. I'd like a good fairy check, because right now my fairy check is Nidoking. Like Mega God of War, like 6-0 is my team at the moment, and so I was looking at Registeel for steel types out of tier 4, but I decided why not make it 3 in a row and take Benjamin, the Bronzong, again. This will be my 3rd season in a row having it in UBC. This thing is just so great. I really love using it. Yes, it doesn't have like awesome attacking stats, but it's not awful either, and you just have to be aware of what Pokemon can potentially set up subs on you, and just make sure you have the right coverage for that. So, if you're facing down a Garchomp, just make sure you pack Hidden Power Ice and stuff like that. But otherwise, this thing is bulky enough where it can take on, lots of hits. Nothing's gonna OHKO it if you're, near full HP. Gets decent enough moves: Earthquake, Rock Slide, Flash Cannon, Psychic, things like that. Gets Trick Room, which is a move that I used in the UBC Season 3 playoffs to great effect. If you don't believe me, ask Sir Squire, who probably still hasn't forgiven me for all the hacks from Season 3, but I digress. Rock Polish isn't really that useful with Trick Room, but it's still funny. But yeah, Bronzong, Steel Psychic type, perfectly walls something like Gardevoir, unless they're running Shadow Ball. That's really the only move that they can use to hit you. Another Stealth Rocker, good ground immunity. It's going to be able to counter non-Mold Breaker Excadrills, which is really nice. If it's Mold Breaker, then we're in more trouble. We'll have to come up with a better counter for that. But anyway, Bronzong is making his triumphant return. Now, I also wanted another Dark Resist, because right now Audino is my only one. I wanted a Scald switch in, because Greninja and... Well, Greninja, I guess, can, it doesn't mind being burned, but it just doesn't take damage well, period. And Decidueye is a Pokemon that doesn't really want to switch in on Scalds. And so I decided to grab Poliwrath out of Tier 5. JCVD, Jean-Claude Van Damme, is my Poliwrath. And Poliwrath's something I've always wanted to use, just because of its typing and how it allows it to perfectly counter certain Pokemon in the metagame. And Water Absorb's a great ability, obviously. And, takes on things like Volcanion really well. Now it's going to take on Heatran really well. Stuff like that. And, the rest talk sets I think are the most common on Poliwraths. But I don't think offensive sets are awful either, because 95 base attack is not bad. And it does get, some hilarious moves such as belly drum if you wanted to use them. But most of the time you're going to see waterfall or scald more likely. You're going to see circle throw, which is a nice move to abuse with my hazard potential. Encore, if there's like a power up punch Darmanitan or something like that, we can try and take that on. Focus blast as well for good fighting stab on the special side if we want to run fully special. But a lot of the sets that you see are just minus speed nature because it's not that important. Then last but not least, our final pick in the draft was Barry the Masquerade. Barry, shoutouts to the B-movie for you guys who are fans. I don't understand quite how that thing became such a meme. But I digress. Masquerade, we'll have to see if it ends up sticking around, to be honest. Looking at the team, I wish I had another ground Pokemon besides Nidoking on the team. So we might have to end up dropping Masquerade. But I still like the utility that this thing has. Intimidate is a great ability. And, this thing isn't the bulkiest, but, that's why that Intimidate is there to help. But other than that, the two things that this Pokemon really provides is Sticky Web, which is somewhere around here. Yeah, Sticky Web. And this gen also got Quiver Dance. So the threat of having a Quiver Dancer is really awesome. And now we have like 4 Pokemon that've got like good speed boosting moves. Like between Rock Polish and Quiver Dance and Dragon Dance and things like that. Even Entei has like Flame Charge, which is, certainly gimmicky, but that's the point of League format, is to run gimmicks. But it's got good coverage too, with Ice Beam, Hydro Pump, Bug Buzz, Air Slash, Giga Drain. Ooh, Baton Pass. I don't think I can do Baton Pass plus Quiver Dance, which would be awesome. But maybe I run like a spec set with Baton Pass for momentum. I didn't even know that it got that. I guess there's no point in running U-turn, running Baton Pass if I have U-turn. It's a pretty poor attacking stat, but if I can get chip damage, you can break Dragonite's multi-scale, you can do stuff like that. So Masquerade, that was the reason it was my last choice. It's really for Sticky Web and Quiver Dance. And so that's the team. And I'm quite looking forward to using it. I was a little worried that it wasn't going to end up shaping up all that well, but I really like the way it looks. And we've got a lot of good defensive coverage. But overall, it's not really a defensive team. This is definitely an offensive team. We've got some decent speed tiers. I kind of wish we had one Pokemon that was like maybe 130 or higher. But with Greninja at 122 and Thundurus at 111, and then we've got Mew at 100, Entei at 100. Although it usually runs Adamant, so that's not that great. Nidoking at 85. Masquerade at 80, Decidueye at 70, Tyrantrum at 71? Yeah, 71. So that's good to know. Like, we've got it covered, and we have lots of speed boosting options, as I've been mentioning. But yeah, we'll see. The nice thing is that it's got a lot of Pokemon that I'm comfortable with, like Entei and Nidoking and Bronzong. But I'm still excited to use the new Pokemon. Like Thundurus, I've never used in the league before. Decidueye is obviously a brand new Pokemon, and it's going to be a lot of fun to use. So yeah, make sure you guys check out the UBC. It does have a Twitter that you guys can follow to keep up to date on all the battles and things like that. We do have a YouTube channel where some videos are going to be coming out. It's not going to be anything too crazy. We have a couple of nice folks who are going to be making some power rankings and things like that for us. That'll be awesome. So make sure you check out this channel. Drop a sub if you want to be staying up to date on all my battles, and make sure you check out all the other coaches. I'll always be dropping the YouTube and Twitter links for my opponents in the videos in their description. So that'll do it for me. Make sure you check back for more Pokemon and gaming content, and until the next time, I will see you all later.